Welcome back to the 293 Code Podcast. And today we're going to be talking about forgiveness and what does that mean?
Yeah, what do forgiveness mean? I mean, because, you know, when you say the word forgiveness, right, it goes all into based off of relationships, forgiving yourself, forgiving family members. You know what I'm saying? But we can start with relationships. What do forgiveness really mean in a relationship?
Well, I guess for me, it means forgiving myself, really, at the end of the day. Nigga, don't tell me what to do. It means forgiving yourself. And the reason why I say that is because you can forgive someone.
True.
And still be angry about what they done to you.
But then you got to ask yourself, did you really forgive?
That's what I'm saying.
So you really didn't forgive the person.
No.
The thing of it is that when people say to somebody, hey, I want you to forgive me, the first thing they go to think about, because that self-defense come up, is, oh, you just want me to forget about what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, forgive and let's move on. But not in a way where it's toxic, but in a way where it's like we sit down at the table, we tell each other what, you know, how I hurt you, how you hurt me, per se, and then you build something different. But the thing of it is that, you know, people automatically assume, like, if somebody said, oh, well, I forgave you. Mm-hmm. Well, you may forgive a person. But sometimes when you say that, it still brings up the anger, you know, the frustration. So you didn't forget.
Right.
So if you can't forget about a situation, not that you're supposed to forget, it's really hard to forgive.
Yeah, that's where you got to forgive yourself. Because you forgive yourself for letting that person be a part, or even having that space that you gave them in your heart, just that space. Like forgiving yourself, because honestly, I have been in a situation where I've been mad for a long ass time. I'm a Scorpio.
Right. We
hold on to shit and we remember shit, right?
That's why y'all got high blood pressure.
Nah, you play it. But, you know, when you get to a certain time in your life, like, people don't really teach you what it is to forgive. So you be like, yeah, I forgive them. And then when you see them, all them emotionals come back up, right? But I learned to sit back and say, you know what? I got to forgive myself, because I allow this person in my space, and not everybody should be in your space. Not everybody belongs, like, but not everybody deserves your heart. You know what I mean?
Right.
But at the same time, it's just like, you know, I'm in control of that. So I have to forgive myself. Or if I say, I forgive you, I'm going to be mad. I'm gonna be mad because I know I don't forgive you, because guess what? I didn't forgive myself. So I'm the number one priority first, by forgiving myself first. Then your motherfucking ass comes second. You know what I mean?
But you know what the saying? Okay, so I see it a little bit different. You know, I'm a Gemini.
Yeah. Many faces.
Right. I see it like this. Sometimes it take a while to forgive, because you got to process what you forgiven for. Because
that's
you know
true.
What intercepts the forgiveness is you not forgetting what has happened or what's been done. So let's say, for instance, you know what I'm saying, you've been cheated on in a relationship. Mm-hmm. Right? We're going to put that out there. It happened to a lot of it, majority of everybody. Similar situations, whatever. But you're so angry for so long, you're not forgetting. So anything that your partner do, you holding that grudge. I did this for you. I did that for you. I did all these things. But you will never want to accept the things that you didn't give. Because you know what? In that matter of time, that don't matter, because you got to go back to where you just hurted me. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So then it's hard to, you know, even put the word forgive or forget right in the whole same scenario. But then it comes to a time and a factor in your life where you have to literally say, okay, you know what? if I forgive this person, I truly have to forgive them. Not saying I have to forgive, but if I honestly, truly say I forgive you, then I have to work on the process of truly forgiving. Not saying that I'm going to forget it now. That's different.
Right.
But if I truly forgive you, then I got to work on the process of breaking down what really happened. Because it takes two people
It definitely
for somebody to fall off.
Right. That's
You know
where
what I'm
you
saying?
start off forgiving yourself.
Right. So then you got to ask yourself, like you said, first, you got to hold yourself accountable to where, like, okay, in this relationship, did I give my all or did I give too much and that person got too comfortable? You see what I'm saying? Because that's what happens a lot in relationships too. The other person get comfortable because they thinking like, okay, well, I'm getting all my need met. And then you fall off thinking like, well, man, I'm tired of stretching myself thin for you, vice versa. That happens, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's the process too, you know? But when you get to that stage of where you truly forgive, then you got to go through the process of, okay, you know what? I'll never forget it. But how can I move on from it? Just like you said, and hold myself accountable for what I didn't do or what I could have done better. Because a lot of that, what we don't want to admit 9 times out of 10 is, like you said, we're mad at ourselves too. You know, number one, first you be like, oh, I feel stupid. Oh, that person made me feel stupid. You know, I sit around and I held on this long because of all the things that you said you was going to do, but you still out here doing A, B, C, and D. You know, so we look at the embarrassment of it. You know, it's almost like the paparazzi. And that's why sometimes it's hard to actually forgive.
Well, I feel like that's the ego coming in and
You right,
causing mischief. But at the same time, I just feel like, you know, we look at people and you be like, damn, they still doing the same shit. So that means we allowing that shit to go on.
Well, that's because they haven't found themselves to love.
Right.
Because a lot of times, you know, just like when you be watching those little crazy reality shows and people be like, oh, I've been cheated on 4 or 5 times. And why are you still here? Why are you still allowing that? If you're not willing to do something different, somebody ain't doing something right.
But that's where you wake up, you know, sometimes after the 4th time or the 5th or whatever, how many times. But there's a point, like you said, you have to come to realization, like, okay, what did I contribute to this?
Right.
You know what I mean? And then that's when that's when the anger kicks in.
Absolutely.
Like, I contribute to a lot of shit, but I also allowed a lot of shit. And then you start looking at yourself, and the anger really comes in because you allowed it, and you start looking at yourself as, am I weak? You know, what is wrong with me? Why am I allowing this? Am I that desperate? The honest truth is you may not be desperate, but it's how you were brought up and what you were taught about love.
Yeah. But at the same time, you know, real talk, you can't be mad at nobody but yourself if you allow yourself to stay.
That's true.
If you decide to stay and you're not happy, you can't be mad at the person or say, oh, I get tired of looking at your face, or vice versa, or you being mean to the individual because they may have made you feel some type of way. If you allowed yourself to stay and say that you was going to stay and you was going to work through it, then that's what you got to do. But ain't nobody saying it's going to be easy. But if you really is trying to fix things and you stay and you tell that person, I forgive you, then you got to really truly mean it for it to work.
Yeah, you got to truly mean it. But here's the thing. A lot of people don't know what that means. You can, like we said at the beginning, you can tell a person, I forgive you. But what do you forgive them for? Can you? It's just like this. If you forgive them, can you forgive yourself? And if the answer is no, and you still stewing like, this bitch did all this shit, you still haven't forgave yourself. Because at the end of the day, when you start doing your own work, you start looking at the person that you were with like, damn, this person got a lot going on and they don't even love themselves.
Right. But you know what, too? Sometimes takes separation.
That's
you
true.
You have to reflect on everything, even within yourself, you know? And I think sometimes people are scared to separate because they're scared to see like what the future is going to hold. But we got to remember that we have to live in the present. Trying to live in the future, you may not get there.
Now, here's the other thing. Some people can't separate. Financial reasons.
Well, we always going to be in a recession.
Nigga, shut up.
I'm just saying. I mean, but
they you know, I've saw people on TikTok where they were like, you know, domestic. I get a lot of domestic engineer, which means you're a housewife or a house husband. That means you do every fucking thing down to the lawn, to the car, to everything. That's a domestic engineer. My terms. Grocery shopping. That's my terms. But, you know, she was saying how her husband was a narcissist. He controlled everything. He controlled the money in and coming out and going out, right? Coming in, going out. And so she started putting money away. It wasn't enough to move.
Right.
Because of course, we're in a recession.
Right.
We live in America. But, you know, she's looking forward to moving, right? And you know, you look at these people and not everyone can escape, but they make plans to escape. They just can't escape like that financially. Mentally, I don't know what y'all might be.
It's called, you better divide up that household. It's called, hey, look, you take this half of the room, I'll take the other half.
That's true. Oh, that's so true.
It's just kind of like,
you got to make it work in order to, until you find your way out.
But I mean, at the same time, it goes to as hard as it may seem and as hard as it is, you know, you still got to keep pushing. You still got to keep pushing. But the thing of it is that like with the situation you just said with the domestic housewife and the narcissist husband. Now, with a narcissist, you're going to be pretty much get blamed for everything because they don't ever do nothing wrong.
That's true.
So it's like, there's really no escaping that unless you do leave. And if you don't leave, then it's like, once again, how do you value your own worth? You just going to sit there every day in misery and sit here and look into the future in your head when you have a long time drinking your tea and looking at the news before you got to go pick up the kids from school, thinking about how your life shoulda, coulda, woulda been.
Some people do. Some people make moves.
You know, it's just like sometimes you got to just like say when is enough is enough. When is enough is enough. But ask Jennifer Lopez when she played in Enough.
Wait, I'm trying to remove that movie.
Hey, it was a good movie. She had to escape.
Yeah.
Lost.
I'm trying to. If Jennifer Lopez watches this, listen to this show, I am so sorry. I mean, I'm on the brink of no tea this morning.
And I'm drinking tea. But I mean, you think about it though, like, if you really want it bad and you determined to get out and you determined to really like change your life and you at a point in your life where you saying, you know what, I don't want to look at myself 10 years down the road saying like, damn, I didn't do enough to get myself out.
Right.
Because as a parent, you're going to do whatever you need to help your kids survive. And you don't want to bring your kids up in an environment like that either if you're not happy. Because as kids get older, they pick up on stuff.
They do. And that's where you got to work on forgiveness, forgiving yourself as well. Working on forgiving yourself and looking at ways to make your life better. Like I said, you got to forgive yourself. You are your number one priority at that moment.
You are. And you know what? Also, you know, just not even forgiving yourself, even in a relationship. It also like, as a parent, I see like nowadays, man, you can tell when parents haven't forgiven themselves if they haven't been there for their kids the way they're supposed to be in there.
Good
and
touch.
Then at the same time, you can see the distance between them and the child on how they interact.
Yep.
And the child is walking around with so much frustration and anger, and the parent trying to give the child everything they want because they wasn't there for them at any time because they walk around with guilt because they haven't forgiven themselves and they feel like they owe it to the child. You know what? It's like, yeah, kids are not asked to be here, and you bring kids into the world. And some people do it for a selfish reason because they're hurting. and they're not doing it in the right way.
Right.
But at the same time, when you bring that life into the world, you got to do everything powerful, but everything possible to be able to give to your child. But at the same time, there's no parents out here that's going to be perfect, because you know what? When you got kids, it's a learning process every single day.
Right.
Kids are going to challenge you. But hey, if you did have a point in your life where you may not have been in your kid's life, or you wasn't that parent, or your kid try to make you feel bad because they look at how parenting is on TV and think you just a bad parent, and then you trying to parent your kid, don't guilt trip yourself enough to the point to where you can't forgive yourself and then just letting your child do whatever and talk to you any kind of way.
Oh man, I've been seeing that a lot lately, especially like in middle school, elementary.
Yeah,
I see parents are just catering to your child, and I'm not saying don't cater to your child, but set boundaries.
Yeah.
Set boundaries with your child. A child always need boundaries, and they need like love, unconditional love, but they also need that structure.
Kids definitely need structure.
If they don't, you see what happens.
And sometimes kids don't know how to just come out and say that they need it, but when it's given to them, they appreciate it and they accept it.
Right.
Because structure comes in so many different forms. But I mean, like, it's easy to pick out parents that haven't forgiven themselves, or they feel bad that they probably can't provide for their kid the way they want to, or how the world view it, how you supposed to just, let your kids be free spirited and speak their mind and do all that. See, we didn't grow up that way.
Right. Well, they don't want to. A lot of stuff I used to hear. This is what I used to hear, and I still do hear. Well, I don't want my child to grow up like how I grew up.
Right.
But you made it.
Yeah.
And look at you.
The struggle taught you lessons.
It did.
The struggle taught you how to be able to be in survivor mode, think out things, in a right way, and move through life.
Right.
Because life is always going to have these obstacles. But I mean,
true.
It's just sad to see when you can see what today's parenting is becoming sometimes, where it's like you can see a lot of guilt in the parent, and the child is like able to just take advantage of it and get what they want.
Yeah, they find that weakness, and it turns into manipulation, gaslighting.
Yeah, because a kid would be like, you wasn't there for me, and you didn't do this for me. And it's just like the parents sometimes give in, or they just walk away from the child because of that guilt, and then parents get on drugs. Some parents even commit suicide because they're not able to provide for their family. Yeah. So it just come like forgiveness is a huge thing.
It really is.
And so, that's another thing too, though. It's like, even if you're not in a relationship, I know I be hard on myself a lot, whether it's sports, no matter what I'm doing. It's like, the OCD mindset, it's got to be perfect. It's got to be, perfection. But the thing of it is that, I've grown to learn, like, everything ain't got to be perfect. As long as I tell myself and I know that I did everything possible to do what I could have done, and this is the end result of it, then it's like I just got to accept it for what it is.
That's true. Yeah.
Because then if I sit here and I think about what I should have, could have done, then I never forgave myself, and then I can't be like, yeah, I could have done better, but here it go. That's going to bother me for the rest of the day. So forgiving yourself is not only in relationships and all that other stuff, or, just within parenting, it starts with you being able to forgive yourself on a daily basis.
Yes. Forgive yourself and have compassion for yourself. You're not going to always do it right. And as parents, there is no manual to do things right. There's no right way. There's no wrong way. It's just about boundaries, forgiveness, and compassion for yourself.
Right.
Your kid's going to say something, like they're going to say some fucked up shit.
They are.
Have compassion for yourself. Yes, it did hurt, but you did do a good job with your child. You raised them the best you could, and you're still doing it.
Yeah.
You could have bounced on that little motherfucker.
You still giving them the opportunities to go out here and do stuff.
You sure are. And the thing is, as parents, like you said, we get down on ourselves. We like, I should have done this, or I should have done that. Forget that. That was in the past. Let's focus on the present.
Yeah, because it's kind of like this. Forgiveness turns into guilt, and guilt is something that's just hard to bounce back from.
Right.
Guilt is like a part of your conscience that is like the bully.
Mm-hmm.
You can't escape it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like you never want to let yourself get
true.
that far.
Yeah, I would say that.
You know, when you can't forgive, it turns into guilt. That's the anger part of it all. Because, you know, like I said, if somebody do you wrong, it's just like you thinking about it, it turns into guilt back into yourself because you just like what you should have done different. Like you said, to go back to blaming yourself.
Right.
Then you never let it die down.
It's going to be like a cycle all over again. It starts from square one back to Z. And then it's almost like a roller coaster of emotions. If you blame, if you get into that don't forgive, and then you get into the guilt and blaming, it's like a whole series of emotional roller coasters that go on in your body.
Yeah, you're right. But see, here's the thing too, though. Like, so when I was younger, and I used to walk around with underlined, like, just be mad, angry. But you know, back then they call it timid, right? Mm-hmm. So if somebody just like did me wrong, it was just kind of like, my forgiveness was like, you know what, don't ever talk to me, you dead to me. You see me, keep walking.
Oh shit, that's hard.
If I see somebody, it's like they invisible to me.
Right.
Like you got one shot, one try, over, done. That's how I used to be. That was my whole survivor mode.
Right.
But I mean, like, I done grown now, and I try to see everything for what it is, you know? But it took a lot. It took years to get out of that pattern, though.
Right.
It really did. Because I'm just like, nah, that's why I used to tell people, fuck me over, you're dead to me. And I truly meant it. And people knew that, you know?
So do you think you, like, learn that, you know, just having that compassion on both sides, not everybody's gonna, you know, be that person for you?
What compassion?
Like, have compassion for both sides. Like,
to my back then?
Yeah.
I didn't have compassion.
But now you do, right?
I wouldn't even call it compassion now. It just called me breaking down how I'm going to understand it to make it make sense. For real. Because the thing of it was, like, you know, people used to be like, dang, do you even got a heart? Because I would walk around cold. But what changed me in a way was I started losing people that was important to me. The losses that I couldn't get back. So then I had to sit back down to the drawing board and be like, you know what? I got to refigure this out because I'm losing people that matters to me the most. And if I keep letting this anger build up on top, because my therapist used to say, you burying yourself. You already dead. She was like, you already walking around dead. Yeah. So all I was doing was walking around angry. And that angry turned into envy with people. Because it was just like, you know what? You know, prime example, just like how if somebody do you wrong, the first thing you go to say is like, see, I wouldn't have done it like that. I wouldn't have done that. So I had to sit back and reevaluate to realize that the world is not going to operate how I do things.
Right.
Because that's how it was. It was just kind of like when you get a job or whatever, you don't do what the boss say, you get fired. That's not your company. It's their company. So that's how I kind of treat it. Just like in the outside world, because I didn't trust people. I would tolerate people, didn't trust people, because people like, well, you know, why you don't like hanging out, whatever. I don't like being around people.
Damn.
You know, so it's just kind of like, and then that whole matter of the fact, it's like trying to forgive people. I'm just still trying to understand it. Why the hell did you do it? You know what I'm saying?
Like, I no longer want to understand. Like, I just don't want to give people, what I learned is people going to do what they want to do. Hurt people. You know what I mean? And the only way I can change and move forward, because I felt like, honestly, it was putting me stagnant. You know that, nigga.
Yep.
I was at a stagnant place. You know what I'm saying? And I was angry, hurt, and like all this emotion filled for. I could have bounced and like shot someone. That's how angry I was.
Yeah, you was.
And then I realized, well, shit, they winning because I'm still losing if I'm angry.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I can't move forward. I can't even do like the projects that we're doing by staying angry. So I can't even give them that space. I don't even want to understand why you did it. Because the more I look at you, the more I forgive myself, the more I look at you, you give me every reason on why you did it. You don't need to say a word.
You know, and you know the one thing you keep saying is the one word that always keep us stuck.
What's that?
Why? Mm-hmm. And because you're never going to get an answer. You're never going to get the answer that you want.
You're never going to get an honest, especially with people who haven't did their work. They're not going to give you an honest answer.
Because you know what it is? I never understood a lot of things, and I always would ask why. And I would sit in therapy and I was asking my therapist, I'm like, why? Mm-hmm. Why? And so one day she asked me, she was just like, well, why do you think that is? Because she was like, you're never going to be able to get the answer, but I would be stuck on why. So I came up with, you know what why stand for?
Why?
What happened yesterday?
Oh, man, let's do that again.
Because the thing of it is what happened yesterday. So you may ask, what do you mean by that? Because every time I would always ask why about every little thing. Think about it, y'all. I'm going to challenge you right quick.
I love that. I love
7
that
days out the week, right?
Mm-hmm.
7 days out the week. Mm-hmm. You know, you could talk about something that happened yesterday. And every day, I want you to realize how many times you say the word why. Because why, majority of the time, stands for what you did prior.
Yeah.
It could have been yesterday. It could have been hours before. But sometimes stuff don't get brought up to the day after.
Right.
Because I'm sitting here and I think about a lot of stuff, right? That normally happened the day before, and it could have been weeks before. But in my mind, it was just like, what happened yesterday? What happened yesterday? Mm-hmm. So when you ask yourself why, you be like, well, what happened yesterday? Then you got to sit down and process what happened yesterday to try to put pieces together, still come with no conclusion.
Zero.
But that's what why stand for me. What happened yesterday?
Man, I love that.
You know,
I'm gonna have to put that in our podcast.
You know, I be thinking different sometimes, but like for real though, it's like what happened yesterday.
Right.
Because why always gonna stand back to you having to go back into the past, talking about stuff in the present. But then sometimes when you in the present, you already thinking ahead of the future instead of just taking one step at a time. Because if we knew what happened yesterday, we wouldn't have to ask why.
That's right. Damn.
So you just think about it. If you knew what happened yesterday, you would never have to ask the question why.
Because you ain't going to get an answer.
Nah, you never get an answer.
You're going to wreck your brain and then you're going to be mad.
Then sometimes angry. When you get an answer, you don't even know whether or not you can trust it.
Yeah, because you know it's going to be full of lies.
Yeah.
They tell you what you think you should hear, right?
Right.
They don't tell you what you need to know.
And that's why 9 times out of 10, sometimes relationships don't work. And you really got to be careful about who you really get in a relationship with. Because, you know, if that other person say, well, I done been cheated on, and then you say, I done been cheated on too, then you really got to be like, why you get cheated on? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
They always ask that, what happened? Like you said, what happened to yep. It's why.
Yeah. I mean, you can even say what happened years and you just put ago. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, kind of the same thing. You got to kind of backtrack. Yesterday, you got to backtrack in some years to really break down the process.
And that takes a lot of mental energy that people are wasting and don't have. So you're giving someone who didn't value you, first of all. And people are like, well, people cheat, you know, because they have different reasons. I don't want to know your reason. I know why I wouldn't do it.
And one thing one thing, real talk though, it's like if you ever have been in a relationship and you've been cheated on or vice versa, whatever the situation may be, or if it's like a lot of dishonesty, if you try couples therapy, both of you have to do your work individually. You can't just go to couples therapy and you're not doing individual work. It don't work like that.
Right. And you got to be transparent. You can't go in there, for instance, you can't go in there and say, well, you know, don't tell the therapist everything. But you telling the therapist what you think they should know.
That is true. But, if you get a good therapist, they should be able to understand what you're talking about. But at the same time, you know what, Charity? Here's another thing. Now, what you think about this? You can't go in there either being like, hey, well, I got cheated on and they did all this stuff for me and expecting for the therapist to come down on the other person and then you sitting there cheesing because it's like, nah, you did some shit too.
Yeah, nah. If you got a good therapist, let me tell you right now, that shit ain't gonna go the way you think it should go. So you go in there, you thinking that the therapist is gonna be on your side.
Yep.
That's not how it works. The therapist, if that therapist, he or she is a good therapist, they're going to see through that bullshit on both sides.
That's true. And the cheat code to finding a good therapist, if your therapist is not in therapy, get your refund back.
That's right.
I'm going to say it once again. If your therapist is not in therapy, get your refund back.
That's right. Get that shit back. Oh, shit.
Real talk, though. Because, you want to be connected on all levels with that, though.
That's true.
And then you can get those people. We got to talk about these people right here. We ain't forgot about y'all. The ones that, look, the ones that walk around angry all the time because they done been cheated on and all this other stuff. And so they go into a whole different mode. And, they could be like, trying to live life on the edge and be all wild and party and like, woohoo, I just want to have fun because, this and that done been done to me or whatever. It's like this. Slow your roll, sit down, self-reflect, and look in the mirror.
Deal with your fucking self.
Exactly. Because, but you have those though.
Yep. No, you're right. Those are the people who don't want to deal with it and just don't want to think about it and just have a great time and think that's going to solve the problem. But what happens when you stop partying?
You become reckless.
Yep.
Because what happens is, you may have a moment where you meet somebody and you be like, oh man, we had such a good conversation. We hang out. You kind of like doing similar of the same stuff. But then when you start to get comfortable and get complacent, right, and then that person get just a little small smudge of what they done been through, or you may have a disagreement. Boom. There we go. They're going to explode and they don't know how to stay in the present because they're going to go straight back to the past because they done been triggered on stuff that they never forgave themselves for.
Oh, shit. Yeah. Yes.
Them the ones I call the scavengers.
The scavengers?
Yeah. Because when you are a scavenger, right?
Explain that, yeah.
When you're a scavenger, you take risks. Mm-hmm. You don't think about stuff. You just live in the moment. Mm-hmm. You don't forget about the past because you sometimes at the same time, you running too. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You could have been the one that was hurt, but you running from pain that you don't want to sit down and experience. You don't want to talk about the hurt that somebody may put upon you, whether that's domestic violence, whether, it was verbally abuse. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like, you don't want to talk about that. You could have a loss. You don't want to talk about that. So you scavenge to the next person to see what all you could take from them. You may get some positive out of it, but sometimes you get more of the negative from that person instead of sitting there learning what they could be teaching you too.
Yeah.
But you take out the negative to give you the next excuse to move on.
I feel like this. Everything is a lesson. And my grandmother used to say, if you don't listen the first time, it's going to be harder the next time.
Yeah.
And so I look at this, everyone is a lesson. So maybe I didn't listen the first time, nor the second time.
Yeah.
And then the third time. So when you run into somebody, you ain't even healed or forgave yourself, guess what? That person's going to be your lesson. And they may be that person, like I said, tip you over the edge. And that's going to be the person that's going to teach you a lot about yourself.
And what you saying that right there, Charity, it's kind of like, how when they tell you sometimes you don't realize that you had a good thing until it's gone, right? Mm-hmm. You may have been in a relationship and it may not be spectacular because, what I'm saying, no relationship is going to be flowers and roses.
Right.
Sometimes relationship is like spoiled milk and cereal.
No.
It go together and you have those sour moments. You may take a bite or two and you may have an upset stomach, but you shit it out and you start back over again. You know?
That's a good way to look at it.
That's what I'm saying.
That's a good way to look
but
at it.
at the same time, you think about it. That milk and cereal stuck together. They worked through it. They worked through it. Because you think about it. I told you I think different.
Yeah.
But look, you think about it though, right?
Uh-huh.
You got the spoiled milk and the cornflakes. You take that bite or two. You swallow it.
Right.
They digesting all that shit together. And when you shit it out, it come out whole. So you processed it.
Mm-hmm.
It may be a fucked up way to think about it, but y'all stay with me now.
I'm trying.
You processed it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And then you let it go. You forgave. You flush it. It's no longer our problem.
Is that toilet gonna flush though?
Yeah, the toilet gonna flush.
How much toilet paper do you need?
Not much. I said it came out whole. But you see what I'm saying though? Sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Like real talk though.
Right.
You know, like it's okay to have serious conversations, but sometimes you got to put stuff in analogy for some people to understand.
No, you so
Because
right.
as people could tell, we're not all about using big words. It's just all about keeping it real and being able to relate to people on all different aspects.
Right. Yeah, no. We're not going to try to confuse you. We're just talking about our experience.
Right.
And then, of course, just life, just real type shit. That's why I said, you know, this is very uncomfortable. But shit, in order to get comfortable, you got to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, and we done been in so many uncomfortable situations. And you know what? You think about it. You start being in uncomfortable situations even when you was younger. But you never really said anything. You just, you know, being uncomfortable, it started out being shy. That's what shy was.
Yeah.
That's what being timid was.
Yeah.
Being uncomfortable. You just didn't know at a younger age what it really meant until you got older. Anxiety is another thing. Being uncomfortable. Because when you was that little kid growing up, it, you know, kept going, getting higher and higher and higher. You know, it turned into something different.
That's true.
You know? But at the same time, we know, and I go back to forgiveness, is that if you don't learn how to forgive yourself, it's really hard to learn how to process and walk through life.
Oh, man. That is so true.
Really, really true. And you know what? I mean, I can give you an example. So,
is this the toilet situation?
No. This is a cleaner version. So I was in high school, 10th grade year. It was time for the sports banquet. And I didn't want to go. And my grandma was just like, no, go. You know, you go. You deserve it. I'll see what you get tomorrow. You know, I didn't want to go. I didn't want to leave my grandma. You know, I went to the banquet. Got all these awards. Sports come easy.
Right.
I was so excited. In the morning, I get to show my grandma, you know, because I would talk to her every morning before I go to school about how basketball was going, tennis, whatever sport I was in at the moment.
Right.
You know, but that particular day, that night, I knew I didn't want to leave because I'm just like, something don't feel right. Went to the banquet. You know, I was just like, oh, maybe I'm just in my head. Get home, go to sleep. Boom, 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 boom. 4:00 in the morning, my cousin knocking at the door. Jump out of bed, just like, what's going on? Because I already had knew. My grandma had passed that night. Well, early in that morning. So I never forgave myself for going to the sports banquet.
Oh, man.
Because I'm just like, I would rather have seen my grandma for one last time and had one last conversation instead of getting a sports reward. You know? And so I was ready to quit all sports. I was just mad at the world.
Right.
I couldn't forgive myself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it didn't matter what people told me about, oh, you know, she would be happy or whatever. That didn't matter to me. And I literally, a part of me still working on that whole forgiveness. Because it was just like, you know, 2 years ago. I think it was 2-3 years ago. Remember when I was getting ready to move again?
Yeah.
And I had packed up all my college, high school, middle school awards, everything I received, even on the professional level, everything. I just packed it up and I had it in a box because I had to move. And I was ready to throw it away. And Phaedra Marissa's like, you can't throw that box away. It's all your accomplishments. I didn't care. Those things didn't mean anything to me anymore. It never really did.
Right. Okay.
You know? Because every time I receive an award, it brings me back to the moment where I'm just like, I felt like I was being selfish. Even though my grandma told me to go, I felt like even though I knew something wasn't right, you know, that was hard for me to forgive myself. So I walked around angry for a while.
Wow.
And I think that's the part where my heart really turned cold. And I turned into the whole thing like, if anybody do me wrong, you're dead to me. I don't want to see you again. I don't want to have to deal with hurt, pain, and anger. Still to this day, I don't even like getting awards.
So it's uncomfortable for you.
It's uncomfortable.
Damn.
Because like sometimes my mom think like, man, something bad about to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just hard to receive something. Because it's just like I never really forgave myself because I felt like, man, I owe my grandma.
Damn.
Because you know what? The conversations between what we would have, and you know how it is in the South, you know, grandma is like the root of the family. When the root of the family is gone, it's like, what do you do?
Yeah. Wow.
And so it's just like, you know, still about to go into my 11th grade year and I still have my 12th grade year, still accomplishing all this stuff. It didn't mean anything because the person that I wanted to share it with was no longer here. Damn. So that's hard when you a kid and you walking around with guilt for so long. And I'll never forget the first time I went to therapy and I'm talking to the therapist about it. And she could tell that she was like, you haven't forgiven yourself for that. And I'm like, nah, I still walked around with that guilt, even though it was out of my control.
How long ago was that? How many years ago?
Well, when my grandma passed away, that was in 1994.
So that's...
Yeah. So that's why I tell people, like, you know what I'm saying? When it comes to forgive, you got to find a way to learn how to forgive. And it's just like now that, you know, we in 2023, I started really working on forgiveness 2017.
No.
That's how long it took, 2017. Because you know what I'm saying? Forgiveness is one of those things where like you got to really put in the work. You really got to put in the work.
You
people,
really do.
You know, say stuff, but you really got to put in the work because sometimes people don't realize that it affects you in so many different ways. It affects you even when you're trying to be in a relationship because it only take that one trauma moment and it destroys everything else that you're trying to build.
Yeah, because you didn't brought that baggage over because you didn't deal with it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's like you done bought the land, but you can't even put the foundation on it yet.
Oh, shit, yeah.
See what I'm saying? It really affects you hard.
It does. It does. And see, I hate when people go, well, just forgive. Like, just throw the word out there. They're just like, just forgive. What does that mean? You know, I'm from like a family who don't, you know, communicate emotionally. You know,
right.
So what does that mean for me?
It just means like, hey, stop talking about it. Cause you know, if you can't forgive the situation, then the person who telling you forgive, I mean, they got work they got to do that they haven't dealt with. And it's bringing up stuff for them that they don't want to think about.
And I hate when they go, well, it's in the Bible. You know, it says you should forgive. I'm like, what? Yeah,
thou shalt forgive, you know, one of the 10 commandments. But it's just like, you know, there's nothing wrong with religion. And, you know, I grew up in the church but when I got older, I made that choice where it was just like, you know what? I want a one-on-one relationship with God, you know, because I would always ask God, like, why? Because I wanted to know why.
So you got to do your own spiritual journey and your own spiritual healing. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of people misleading people in many ways. And, especially in the forgiveness department, you know.
Well, yeah.
Prime example, slavery. You know, we got all this stuff going on, you know, with race. And when people say, you know, other race say, you know what, you should just forgive and forget about it. You know, what does that mean for Black folks when we're still in it? So that's the question. What does that mean? Forgiveness. What does it mean to you? What does it mean to your family? You know, what does that mean to your neighbor when your neighbor may have an issue with a tree on your property that's going into their property and you guys had it out? So what does that mean? What does that mean for the parent or the mother that lost a son or a daughter due to murder? What does that mean?
Yeah, people don't understand. Like, you know, the thing that I hate too is like when people are asking other people to forgive. Well, you know, when people say, oh, it's going to take time. Yeah, it is going to take time. It's going to take time, but you also need to tell them it's going to take time. It is also going to be a struggle.
Oh, man. Definitely a struggle.
And I think that's the hard part is like sometimes people are scared to let people know the reality of how things are. You know, that's the one thing that we don't talk about enough is the reality of it. The hardcore piece, you know, it's like I can make a pizza and it can look immaculate. And I'll be like, here, Charity, here go this pizza. And you're going to be like, oh man, this pizza look really good. You know, I'll be like, oh, it was nothing. I could teach you how to make it one day. It was nothing. But I know in my mind, like it was a process, but I'm giving you the shorthand version of it. The thing is going to be easy. And then next thing you know, you can be like, oh, I want to be a pizza, maker. Not knowing like the steps.
Right.
You know, and I think sometimes people are not comfortable with telling people the true process of what it really takes. Like you really have to give your all. Like we're not little kids anymore. You got to be real with people.
You really do. In order for people to get it, you really have to be real with people.
And I think sometimes people are scared because they don't know how to be real with themselves.
Oh, man. That's so true. That is so true.
Because you think about it when you got friends, right? Prime example. You could be that friend where you know that you're the one that always fucking up. But you'll blame everybody else on this is the reason why I did this is the reason why I did that, to your friends. And if you got those type of friends that they know that you went wrong, but they're not going to tell you and they just kind of jump on the bandwagon and be like, oh, nah, you right. Them ain't real friends. Now, everybody got friends like that here and there. But like true friends are going to really tell you about yourself.
Yeah, because I know myself. I know that I can be a lot of things. So I need motherfuckers to tell me. Like, hey, you off today. Oh, man, really?
Yeah, for real. You're like, nah, what's wrong? Like, you ain't looking right. What done happened?
Because y'all always clowning me. So.
Yeah, we is 24/7. But y'all already know you already know when I'm having a day. And I'm just kind of like, today ain't the day.
Today ain't the day. Right.
But I kind of showed on my face already, though.
Yeah.
And then, like, I even come and be like, you know what? Let me tell you what I did. Yep. My deliverance. Yeah. I'm over here hurting feelings. But I'm like, they'll be all right.
No, your deliverance. It's not what you say, it's how you say it.
It's how you say it. I'm still learning.
So there's a lot of things that we all need to learn. And just like I said, have forgiveness and have compassion for yourself, especially if you're a mom, dad, or should I say mother, father, grandmother, family member, just you, a wife, a husband, even children, youth. If you're like having a bad day and you go to school and something happened and like, have compassion for yourself. Forgive yourself. You may say something out of pocket. Forgive yourself. Work on it. Figure out, okay, what does that mean for me to forgive myself? So now, like Bonnie said, look in the mirror and ask yourself that question. What does that mean to me? Forgiving myself.
Right.
And you're going to get a lot of answers. You're going to get things that you don't like. But that's the way of healing. And that being said, today, thank you for joining our podcast. And episode will be out